It seems more and more serious car wrecks are happening in East Texas. Just last week in Livingston, a man was driving at a high rate of speed and lost control of his pickup. The truck rolled several times before it crashed into trees. Tragically, a passenger was ejected from the vehicle and fatally injured. Police suspect alcohol was involved. We have asked attorney Mike Love with the law firm of Mike Love and Associates to join us today to discuss the different legal issues that accident victims face after a wreck such as this. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So obviously, if alcohol is involved, the driver is facing potential criminal charges. What about the victim's family? What rights do they have?
That's a great question, and I cannot emphasize this enough, but especially under the facts you've laid out. Facts matter. Who, what, where, why. All those things are important for determining what rights the victim might have, as well as the victim's family. And in this case, there's just under what we know so far, there's lots of issues that jump out to me as a personal injury attorney.
Okay, give us some examples.
Well, for starters, did the driver own the car that he was driving, the pickup truck, or did he borrow it from someone that loaned it to him knowing he was drunk? Where did he get the alcohol? Was it a bar or a restaurant? Bars and restaurants have a responsibility not to overserve their customers. Was the driver working for someone at the time? Was there an employer involved? There's lots of issues that jump out that should be investigated in a case like this to protect the victim's rights. But quite honestly, the most important thing, based on what you've told me so far, doesn't have anything to do with the drunk driver.
What is that?
You mentioned that the victim was ejected, right? So in most circumstances like that, the police are going to assume that that person was not wearing their seatbelt. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. Sometimes seatbelts fail, and they fail most often in rollover crashes like what you're describing. So the only way to know for sure is to have that seatbelt examined by a forensic expert. And if it did fail, well, you've got a products liability claim against the car manufacturer, and that's very important to know for the victim and her family.
I have to admit, it's a lot more complicated than I thought. How does someone know whether they need a lawyer after an accident?
A good rule to follow, if you're hurt bad enough to go to the hospital or go see a doctor more than once, you're probably hurt bad enough to at least talk to a lawyer and find out what your rights are. It doesn't cost anything to talk to most personal injury attorneys. Our law firm, for example, doesn't charge anybody for answering questions, for giving legal advice. We only charge our clients if we take their case and we are successful in reaching recovery for them.
Okay, Mike, lots of great information. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.